Years ago, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, China had that ban where you can only have one child, and then they lifted it, and they said, okay, now you can have more children. I had somebody tell me, do you think that this could have been a purge toward old people in China to try to get rid of? I had somebody bring up that.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, that you would think if that was the case that, well, I mean, it's hard to know what actually happened in China, right? I mean, that's one of the big things. What really happened in China? Is it the numbers that they've released officially, or is it many, many more people than that?
And there are also, again, we don't know the origins of it in China, but I heard another China theory, just reminded when you said that, Pat, that maybe China did have something to do with this on purpose so that they can look like the hero and have all this medical equipment and then get their leverage with the United States. Now, again, I want to reiterate, these are just theories. We don't know any of this. This is just conjecture.
Yeah, just speculation. But I do think it's interesting how now this type of speculation is being allowed. It's coming to the front. I mean, we have people talking about this. We have even papers, national papers, for instance, the Washington Post, talking about some of this stuff going on. Like when the U.S. Embassy actually visited that Wuhan Institute of Virology lab in Wuhan, China, and they actually sent back warnings. This happened in 2018. They sent back warnings to the United States about, hey, this place is not completely safe. They don't have the right safety protocols and the right management protocols in place. And this particular laboratory is a prime candidate for something to escape from it. So that notice went out in 2018. Now, remember, they've been studying just at that lab. That was one of their particular areas of study was bat coronaviruses at that lab. In fact, the lady who was running the studies, the doctor, Xi Jinping, she was known as the Bat Woman because that's essentially what her entire career was built on, was the study of these bat coronaviruses. And this particular bat coronavirus, which, assuming that it is somehow originated in a bat, I think it's got 96% genetic identity with other bat coronaviruses. So if this is some kind of a lab-modified virus, or it has some part of lab modification involved in it, I think it started out as a bat coronavirus, and it came from the horseshoe bats in the Yunnan province about 1,000 miles away from Wuhan. That much they believe they've discovered and documented. Now, there's a lot of reasons to look into some of that and wonder, because a lot of people then go, well, obviously then it came from bats to humans. It made the jump. And I think, we've talked some about this on the show before, and I think it's worth, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I mean, really taking a look at it, because you cannot just rely on the headlines. And that's really the point that I'm trying to get to, is that just a few months ago, what I think is a pretty interesting news site, which is Zero Hedge, was permanently banned from Twitter for suggesting that this virus came out of that Wuhan Institute of Virology. And now, 3 months later, we've got, and I'm going to have to put quotes around reputable news sources, but we've got places like Fox News, we've got the Washington Post, and a whole bevy of other news sources that are saying, hey, maybe this came out of that virology lab. And it's like, do you think that's possible? I mean, I'm sorry for applying just a little bit of common sense, but, could that have possibly been what happened? I mean, we've talked about the way that these labs, these virus labs, and we've got them here throughout the U.S. as well, although we don't have them in every city, but we have them, in different places in the U.S., and we study these things, and how there's a history of the viruses finding a way to escape.
Good thing you're not in China saying this. You could disappear.
I would disappear right away. You'd never hear. There'd be no more. The Morgan Streetman show, no such show. They would never hear from it again, And that's what they did to a bunch of people who tried to blow the whistle on this. But you're looking at what happened in Wuhan, and, this particular kind of bat doesn't even live around there. And the whole idea of the bat soup was kind of a farce, actually. It came out that they didn't serve these kind of bats. And, in fact, bat soup wasn't popular in Wuhan, China, that the photos that we all saw of bat soup, like at the mall, those actually came out of Indonesia. So I thought that was interesting. But really, the more interesting point on why this didn't make the jump, most likely from bats to humans, is that there were no previous attempts. And that's what they always see, is they always see previous attempts of the virus to jump from animals to humans, because it takes a virus, it never gets it right. And we're personifying viruses a little bit here. They're not that smart. But the virus never gets the mutations right and makes the jump effectively the first time. It usually has to try 5 to 10 times before it sticks. So when it makes a jump from a bat to a human, it doesn't work the first time. Or maybe the human dies before passing it on, and then it has to go again and try again, quote-unquote, try. And so what actually you see is you see some antibodies in some of the population, and they've tested for that already, and they found there are no antibodies to this particular bat coronavirus in the population of bat hunters in Yunnan, China. So that indicates that if this virus made the jump from a bat to human, it made it successfully on the very first attempt, and that just doesn't happen.
Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.